In today's video, I'm gonna make this table, well, tables, out of all these leftovers. Let's make something cool. Well, a couple of videos ago, you saw me make a concrete countertop with the Concrete Countertop Solutions Z-Form kit. Which, by the way, this video is not sponsored in any way, shape, or form. But I had all this leftover material, which I don't have enough to make a whole other concrete countertop. But I feel like I couldn't throw this stuff out. I had to think of some sort of small project that I could do to use the rest of these leftovers. So I thought, why not a small outdoor table? But we're gonna start on the base first on this project, and it's gonna be a very simple yet elegant base, which will also be made out of leftovers. And since I have this entire wood rack filled with leftovers, I gotta use this stuff at some point, right? I refuse to buy anything for this project. For the base, I just took some scrap 2x4s and I cut 2 at 20 inches, 2 at 11 inches, and 1 at 9.5 inches. And you can get 2 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch sticks out of each board. But I had a thought. Either I could make one big table out of all these leftovers, or a medium-sized table, or I can make 2 small tables. I think I'll make 2 small tables. So I had to make sure to double everything. Assembling the base is going to be very easy. We're going to do pocket holes, glue, and screws. But first we're going to do 2 separate assemblies before we put the whole thing together. First, we're going to set down 2 legs and a bottom and top rail, which are both solid. Using 2 spacers, the bottom rail is going to be up from the bottom of the feet 3 inches. Then just clamp it up and glue and screw it together. The second assembly is going to be almost the same thing, only we're going to use 2 spacers that are 1.5 inches to keep this bottom rail 1.5 inches up from the bottom of the feet. So, as I'm assembling this, I realized I did my maths wrong. I told you to cut 2 pieces at 9.5 inches. They're actually supposed to be 2 pieces at 4 3/4 inch. I forgot to divide in half. And the top rail, I used a scrap piece of 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch for in between these 2 smaller pieces while I clamped up. Then I just took this solid assembly and just snuck it in between this gap and glued and screwed it all together. Then I just repeated all those steps for my second table. Now, of course, I'm gonna stain it and finish it with an exterior grade polyurethane. Had some leftover 1/2 inch cement board and I cut them at 14 inches by 14 inches. Now, I know these look extremely small, and they are, but these edge moldings are gonna add like 1.5 inches to all sides, widening it by 3 inches total. I use these marks to help me know where to cut these guys. Alright, I've attached the cement board to the top with 1.25 inch cement board screws because I had some left over. Then I cut all the edges and I screwed them down with a couple of 3/4 inch self-tapping screws that came with the concrete countertop kit. Then I screwed down about 5 of these plastic feet that will hold up our fiberglass mesh. And when we go to pour, we're not going to have to worry about reinforcement or where it's being placed because it's already going to be installed. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, and as you can see, the math wasn't quite mathing again. See, the problem is when you figure these kind of things out, you have to figure out for waste and mistakes, and I had a little mistake. Not quite sure how I'm gonna close up that gap, but I'm gonna have to figure something out. So, just cobbled it together with some small pieces that I had left and duct taped the rest of it. It's the best I could do with what I had. Anyway, so day 1 all done. Tomorrow we can go ahead and mix and pour. All right, it is day 2 and we are ready to pour. I've got everything all set. Got everything I know I could possibly need. I even have my oscillating tool set up to do some vibrating. Maybe it won't break in the middle of the project this time. But today we're gonna use the Concrete Countertop Solutions White Concrete Countertop Mix. I'm gonna use 3 quarts of water this time, not 4 like I did last time. And we're gonna mix 2 scoops of charcoal colorant in the water first. That way we get a nice consistent mix. I'm gonna mix that up really well. Pour our 2 tops, probably gonna take like 1.5 bags. I can't imagine it's gonna take the whole 2 bags, but I'm probably gonna mix up the 2 bags. Then I'm gonna screed them off. I'm gonna trowel it with a nice smooth finish, but I'm gonna have to wait about 15 minutes to a half hour, depending on the temperatures, which it's pretty hot today, so it's probably gonna be around more like 15 minutes. And once it's not tacky and sticky anymore, I can go ahead and get a nice hard trowel finish on there. All right, day 2 in the books. Pour's done. Got a nice hard trowel on there. Now we're just gonna leave it alone, and 24 hours later, we're gonna go ahead and pop these edges off and see what we got. I did end up mixing only a half a bag after the full bag. I just couldn't bring myself to waste a whole bag, and it was actually the perfect amount. It was a bag and a half exactly. All right, so see you in 24 hours. All right, it's reveal day, so let's take these edge moldings off and see what they look like. I'm also very curious to see how our wonky edge mold repair turned out as well. Now that looks cool. That's never gonna get old. Well, I'm sure it's no surprise that these look awesome. And our stupid corner doesn't only look awful because I cobbled it together, but because I realize now that after demolding it, I should have taped the inside of the edge mold instead of the outside. So now I've got this really bad, really awful step that just can't be fixed, and I'm just gonna make sure that this is gonna be faced away from where people can see. I can totally leave them like this, but since I do have the sanding pads, I do want to sand this and reveal a little bit of the aggregate and some of the different colors that naturally happen with concrete, and I love that look. So we got the 60 grit diamond pad, 120, and 200. Well, that's it, they're all done. And I could not be happier with these tables, especially since they were made out of scrap. Now, yes, I do need to seal these, but I've got to wait a minimum of 10 days, and I want to get this video out to you, but I will be sealing them with this Aquathane M35. It is a satin finish because I don't like shiny being on my concrete, but it's also made for outdoors. But I love doing projects like this because they're quick, they're simple. I don't need to take too much time with them to make them look good because I love the character of the mistakes and the scrap wood. That's one of the reasons why I love working with concrete, because of the natural character that comes out in it. So thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.